Today I'm going to show you how to make homemade turkey sausage patties, sausage links, and Scotch eggs. These are all easy breakfasts that you can prep in advance using turkey sausage, which is going to be lower in calories and healthier than the alternative. I'm referencing a recipe from allrecipes.com, which I'll link in the description box below. It starts with grinding 2 teaspoons of fennel seeds, 1 teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon of dried Italian herb seasoning, 1/8 of a teaspoon crushed red pepper flakes, and a pinch of nutmeg, and just grind them until the fennel seeds are a powdered consistency that you can easily incorporate into your ground meat. Then go ahead and put it in a bowl that's big enough to work with 1 pound of ground meat. I'm using a pound of ground turkey. The recipe that I'm linking below is for ground pork. I have done this with many different kinds of meats. It works out just as well with any type of ground meat. I've used bison for this, I've used lamb for this. The main thing is just to make sure that the spices get really well incorporated into the meat so you don't get one big clump of spices. And then the little secret ingredient here, which is not a secret, it's in the recipe, is 2 teaspoons of orange zest or lemon zest. I used lemon zest in this one today because I don't have oranges, but that citrus zest is what gives it that kind of sausagey flavor and really brings out the seasonings and makes it taste delicious no matter what type of meat you're using. Now I'm gonna just set half of this aside for the Scotch eggs that I will show you later on in this video. And for the other half, I'm going to make this into a sausage patty. Just like a little hamburger patty, just roll it like you would roll a meatball and then flatten it out until it is about the shape of a breakfast sausage patty like this. Or alternatively, you could roll it into a link shape. It doesn't really make too much of a difference. It's just really your preference of kind of if you want to make it on a breakfast sandwich like a egg McMuffin style, go with the patty. If you just want to eat it on the side of your eggs in the morning, maybe go with the links. I'm going to do a couple each way just so you can see the difference. Now you can either freeze your sausages raw, just the way they are now, or you can cook them ahead of time. That way when you're ready for breakfast, you can just heat them up. I'm gonna go ahead and cook mine first. So I am just putting everything in a nonstick pan with about a tablespoon of cooking oil in the pan. Just because I'm using ground turkey, it's really low in fat and you don't want it to stick, but you don't need a lot of oil here. And I'm just gonna give them a good flip after probably about 3 to 4 minutes on each side. They should be done. I'm gonna flip them a couple of times just to make sure that everything is nice and brown all the way around, and you just want to cook them until they reach 165 degrees, and you can check that with a meat thermometer. Then you can go ahead and wrap these up in individual servings. I went ahead and measured 3 of the links is about 3 ounces and 2 of the patties is about 3 ounces. So I'm just wrapping up 2 patties in each or 3 links in each little pack, and I'll freeze those. So now for the Scotch eggs, I'm gonna make the hard-boiled eggs. Now you can put your eggs in the water and then put the pot on the stove to boil. You just wanna use enough water to cover your eggs. However, I like to boil the water first and then drop the eggs in. It makes them easier to peel. So what I'm doing here is just testing that I have enough water to cover my 6 eggs, because you don't want to end up boiling it and then realize that the water's not enough to cover the eggs and then it's too late. So I'm just testing to make sure I had enough water in the pot here, but I'm actually going to take the eggs out and I will show you guys my technique for boiling the eggs, which just seems to make them super easy to peel. Once the water has come to a boil, you want to gently lower the eggs in. Something about this process of putting it into the boiling water makes the shell so much easier to come off when you're trying to peel these eggs later. I use a ladle, which is just perfect because it holds the egg in there and you can gently lower it in without tipping it into the pot or having it hit the bottom of the pan and crack. You do want to lower it gently so it can kind of get accustomed to the temperature of the water, especially if your eggs are super cold, just so the shell doesn't crack from the change in temperature. And you want to just repeat this with each egg. I went ahead and sped up this portion of the video, but you do want to do this slowly and gently, not this fast. And you want to boil them about 7 minutes and then just tap all the way around the shell. And as you'll see, these are going to be really easy to peel once you get that first little bit of shell off. The rest is going to roll off much easier than boiling eggs the alternative way, which is bringing them to a boil while the eggs are in the water. Somehow those are just so hard to peel, and this way it's just so easy. Now I boiled these 7 minutes, which is a soft boil, just because they're gonna get baked inside the meat again for the Scotch egg. And so it's gonna end up like the yolk as hard boiled at the end, but you don't wanna hard boil it ahead of time because then you're gonna have just a super dry yolk. So you just wanna take a handful of sausage. This was about 2.5 ounces, a little bit less than that, of ground turkey sausage, and you want to place the egg in the middle of it. You want to flatten it out almost like you did the sausage patties, maybe a little bit flatter and thinner, and just wrap it around the egg and continue to wrap it and squeeze it together so the meat holds together. Usually this recipe calls for breadcrumbs or eggs mixed in with the meat to hold it together, or they'll wrap the egg in meat and then dip it in flour, eggs, and breadcrumbs and then deep fry it. This is going to be a baked version, so this is a much healthier alternative. It is important for this in particular to use a low-fat meat, because if there's fat in the meat, it's going to shrink when you cook it and the meat is going to crack and pull away from the egg. But with the ground turkey, it's going to create that perfect shell and not pull away from the meat. If you are using a meat with more fat, you will want to add maybe some breadcrumb or egg to bind it together. So I baked these at 450 for about 35 to 40 minutes and flipped them halfway through. The one that is cracked actually cracked when I was flipping it or turning it over because it stuck a little bit to the pan, not because the meat separated. As you can see on the other two are perfect. But I'll go ahead and cut this one open first since it's already cracked open. And you guys can see that the meat actually does adhere to the egg really well. The meat shell doesn't fall off, which is a good sign here, and the egg is well done in the middle. The meat is cooked all the way through. So this you can serve with like a little bit of any kind of sauce that you like on it. I personally just like a little bit of ketchup or mustard on it. You can use like a horseradish dipping sauce would be good on it as well. It doesn't really need a sauce necessarily. The sausage on the outside is really flavorful with all the herbs and lemon zest in there. You could just sprinkle some salt and pepper on the egg and you'd be good to go. I'm gonna serve these with some deviled eggs that I made earlier, and I was gonna show you guys that recipe, but I was trying to do something cute for Halloween and make the deviled eggs like a bright red color with veins and make them look like a scary Halloween look, but the coloring didn't really work out. They turned out kind of like pinkish orange. They actually look kind of cute and not like Halloween treat at all. So here they are, but I'll show you guys the deviled eggs in another video another day. But altogether, the Scotch egg is only 136 calories, so you can have 2 of them if it's your meal, or you can have 1 of them as a snack. You can serve it with deviled eggs like I am here, and let me know in the comments if you do want to see the deviled egg recipe another time. I did try to make them cute for Halloween, but it just didn't work out. So I did manage to make the perfect Scotch egg, and I just drizzled it with ketchup and added a little bit of dried chopped chives for garnish, and this is a really tasty treat. It looks like a fancier dish than it really is. It was pretty easy to make. You can make these ahead of time and have your breakfast prepped for the week.